The trial chamber is now back in session, and I would like to hear from judges. Do you have any question to put to this witness? If so, you may proceed. Judge Lavange, you may proceed.
Oui, j'ai très peu.
Yes, I have very few questions. I would like to start by asking the witness to clarify something. Mr. Witness, you made mention of Tassan, who was a cadre at the level of the district. Was Tassan known by another name? Was he also called Ta'uch? Ta'uch.
Answer. During the regime, I didn't know his name by Ta'uch, but I knew him very well at the time by Tassan, but I don't know where he is now. But I didn't hear his name called Uch during the regime.
Est-ce qu'il y avait
Were there other cadres in Tramkak district who also bore the name Tassan?
Answer. No, there was no other person by the name of Tassan. Only one Tassan was the district chief.
Pourtant, monsieur, quand j'ai...
And yet, Mr. Witness, when I read your statement E3/5521 at answer 67, you make mention of a person called Tassan who was a member of Sri Ronung commune. Does that remind you of anything?
Answer. I didn't say Tassan was the Sri Ronung commune committee, but he was the member and the chief of Tramkak district.
Je vais lire la réponse 67.
I'll read answer 67. This question was put to you. What was the name of your assistant at Sri Ronung? Answer, Sang Paul, deceased. He was the deputy, and the old Tassan was a simple member. And you said that he was a member of Sri Ronung commune.
President, yes, you are clear, Tasson, but could you wait until we hear from the witness in his response to the judge's question? But we would like to hear from the witness first. At Sri Ronung commune, who was Tasson? Witness, now you can proceed. Witness, Son was the member of Sri Ronung, but he is now dead. Som Po was the deputy chief of commune of Sri Ronung. They both died. He was not Tassan, but his name was Tasson.
Yeah.
Thank you for that clarification. A few questions about the cadres working in the district level. Have you heard talk of Yip Duk, responsible for youth at the district level?
Answer. Eb Deutsch. I know him very well. he was the chief of Trump Kok Youth Committee before, and later he was sent to Krang Tachan. He worked there, and later he was sent to the North Zone, but I don't know which rank he was holding. But now he has died 4 or 3 years ago when he drank too much, and then he was fatigued and died.
Est-ce que vous
Have you heard of Phan Chen?
Answer: Phan Chen was a former cadre who worked there, but I don't know where he was living, where he is living now. But he used to be at Goose Commune.
Est-ce que Phan
And did Phan Chen work at Krang Tachan?
Answer: I didn't hear that he was working at Krang Tachan.
Est-ce que vous avez
Have you heard the name of a cadre called P or Phi, and who was disabled in the legs?
Answer: I knew Pierre, who was handicapped on his leg. Earlier he was at Tram Kak district, and later he was sent to be commune chief in either Roka commune or another commune. I'm not remember well that name.
Voici
Mr. Witness, here's my last question. Did you ever make district level requests for provisions to be sent to your commune when there were shortcomings? Did you ever make requests of that kind?
Answer: when there was food shortage or clothing for the people, I made a request and it was sent to the district office.
et en général,
And generally speaking, did you receive clothing or food when you made the request for them?
Answer: when I send a request to the district office, but the district would supply with cloth, not dress or clothing. We receive some, but not sufficient as we were in need at the time.
et des vivres.
What about food? Did you get food from the district?
Answer: yes, in terms of food, we receive some quantity of rice. It used to be supplied from time to time to the commune.
In that case, why did you hide some of the harvest if you had to ask the district to send you food?
Answer: the reason I hid some food just to be ready to supply in case we don't have enough food for the people. And sometimes I also requested for food from the district office so that I can have sufficient for my people. This is one of my techniques in supervision and management of people in my commune.
Je vous remercie.
Thank you, Mr. Witness. I have no further questions.
President, next, the trial chamber would like to give the floor to the defense counsels, and first, the defense counsel for Nuon Chea will take the floor first to put question to this witness. Counsel, now you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, Mr. Witness. I would like to ask you a few questions. I would like to start with reading back to you an answer that you gave to the investigators, that is D118/34. Question and answer 20. The question reads as follows: what year did the purging take place? And your answer in 20 is, and I quote, "At that time, the first secretary of Sector 13 was Tassom. He had been called to study at Phnom Kleng and disappeared along with 2 to 3 commune chiefs. I thought those persons had been purged, but I did not know where they were taken to. They only said that those persons were called to study. I do not recall what year it was." And in the other document, E3/5521, in answer 119, A119, the question is, do you remember who the sector committee was? Your answer, Som, it is not known if he's still alive, was later on Tabrak. He was arrested in 77 or 78. Then Taran. It's not known if he's still alive. Then Tatit, born in Trapang Tom village, Tramkok district. And then Takit, deceased, was a sector committee. Mr. Witness, my question is first about this person, Tassom. In your first answer that I read to you, you said that he was called to study at Phnom Kleng. Can you tell us how you know this fact?
Answer. When he was called to a study session, the letter was from the district office that he will go to Phnom Kleng. It was the school for the sector office. It was under the supervision of Tassom.
And where is Phnom Kleng?
Phnom Kleng was to the south of the Takao provincial town in Trang district. It was probably 3 kilometers away from the provincial town of Takao.
And how do you know that he got a letter from the district to come to study?
Answer. During that regime, the letter was delivered by the messengers at the commune level.
And in your answer, you are saying that he disappeared along with 2 to 3 commune chiefs. Do you remember who these 2 to 3 commune chiefs were?
Answer. After the meeting, there was a live view discussion at the school, and his disappearance at the time in Angkor Chai district, also in Takeo province. It was codenamed as 106 district. And a person whose name is unknown to me, people were disappeared from some line commune and from Angkor Chai and another commune. Those were the commune chief who disappeared.
And would you be able to tell us the reason why you think he disappeared?
Answer. The disappearance, I noticed that in the next meeting they did not appear at the meeting, and I heard that they were arrested and sent for study session. They were the commune chiefs that I mentioned earlier, from the communes I mentioned earlier.
Do you know the reason for the arrest of Tassom?
Answer. I didn't know about it because he was from the sector level. I didn't hear about that during the regime. I have just heard here in this court, in this hearing.
What is it exactly, Mr. Witness, that you have heard in this court?
Answer. I heard that Tassom was arrested. I have never heard this before.
Maybe I'm misunderstanding your answer, but I thought that was the thing that you had said yourself in the statement and are repeating now. So maybe there's some confusion about the translation, but was Tassom arrested? And if yes, for what reasons? If you know.
Answer. No, I don't know that he was arrested. But I noticed that he disappeared from Sector 13. I heard during that time he was sick and he went away for treatment. After his disappearance, Taprak was assigned to replace him. And for this person, later Taprak was also arrested, disappeared, and then Taron was sent to replace him. And then Taron was sent to the conference in Phnom Penh, and he was injured his leg by a train accident, and Taron disappeared. And finally, Tatet was assigned to replace him. And later, for a while, Tatet went away. So it was secret to the commune people. And after Tatet, Taket was assigned to replace him. and Takut was there for about a few months, and then the country was liberated by the new regime, by the Vietnamese troop.
Mr. Witness, do you remember when Taran replaced Taprak?
Answer: I do not recall the specific year, but I just knew that he was replaced.
In your answer, you said that Taprak was arrested in 77 or 78. Do I understand you correctly that Taran must have been arrested after Taprak, so maybe somewhere 78 or maybe 77?
Answer: I don't recall the specific date, but I knew that he was arrested.
Do you know if there is any connection between Tassom and Chuchet?
Answer: I don't know any connection of people who were at the upper echelon. I didn't know, and nor did I hear about that.
Do you know who the secretary of the West Zone was?
Answer: no, I don't know him, and I do not know his name either.
Does Tasi ring a bell?
Answer: I heard from people of his name, Tasi, but I have never met him in person. I just heard his name.
Have you ever heard whether there was a relation between Si and Som?
Answer: no, I don't know about that.
What can you tell us about a person called Takif? What do you remember of him?
Answer: I know Takio very well. I know his background. He was from the same village as mine. I know him very well.
Do you know what happened to him in DK?
Answer: he was the secretary of Trump Park in 1970. After the liberation, he was removed and sent to the sector mobile unit at Angkor Borei. It was somewhere at Angkor Borei mountain, might be to the south of that mountain. And later, I heard that he was arrested and sent to Sun Long mountain for detention. But I don't know the reason behind his arrest. And finally, he was sent to Vihir Kapuh. And finally, he was sent to an area to the south of Phnom Penh. I don't know. I don't remember the name of that mountain. And then he disappeared after the liberation of Cambodia by the Vietnamese troop.
Do you know if Kiev had any relation with C or Chuchet? That's the same person.
Answer: no, I didn't know about that.
Mr. Witness, we have been talking about some fellow cadres that you knew, and a few of them you said were arrested. Do you have any knowledge as to why they were arrested, why they were taken out of the district or out of the sector?
Answer: during the regime, everything was secret. I didn't know about that.
I understand, but you might have heard details, or you might have acquired knowledge after 1979. Is that the case?
As for information after 1979, I heard about the cadres who had been arrested and subsequently smashed by Pol Pot. Means they had all been killed, because later on none of them was ever seen, including the kill.
Could you be more precise, Mr. Witness, as to the fate of Som, Kiev, and Taprak? What was the reason that you think they were smashed?
I didn't know for sure. I only knew that after his arrest, he disappeared. The Kiev, who lived in the same village, was taken together with his wife and two of his younger children. But I did not ask him, nor did I see it, but I heard that he was killed.
Have you heard any information after 1979 indicating that Som, Kiev, and Prague were in the network of C or Chuchet?
I did not know about that even after 1979. I was arrested by the Vietnamese troops and placed at the refashion center at Koh on that. It was known as the Re-Education Center or Office 163. And it was controlled by the Vietnamese troops, but there were some Cambodians who worked there and who knew me. Then I was asked to fill in the form, and subsequently I was released in 1986, that is 6 years after I had been detained there. And when I returned to my village, I was appointed as a deputy village chief. And subsequently, due to my work experience during the regime, although there were both positive and negative aspects of it, of course, the good thing is the positive side was about 60 to 70%, and then I was appointed commune chief for Ong Ro Niep. And subsequently, I stood for a member of the commune chief, and subsequently I was elected as a member of Tram Kok District Committee.
But is it your testimony that after 79 you were re-educated or refashioned for 6 years by the Vietnamese?
Yes, that is correct.
Mr. Witness, you briefly mentioned a person with the name P, and that this person had an accident. You gave some details earlier, but I would like to ask you to be a little more specific. What do you remember about P?
I did not know what happened to P, since he worked in a different commune and district.
Have you ever heard stories that P was executed in 1979 by the Vietnamese?
No, I was not aware of that.
Do you know what role, if any, P had in relation to Krang Ta Chan or Re-Education Office 105?
No, I did not. I only knew that he was a commune committee of District 107. And it was in Ronim commune.
Mr. Witness, there are other witnesses who have testified that P was possibly the superior of Ta An, who was managing Krang Ta Chan. Does that ring a bell?
No, I was not aware of that. And I only heard that Ta An was chief of Krang Ta Chan Security Center.
Can you tell us some more about what accident P had?
did not know the details regarding peace accident.
Do you know if he was hit by a car or by a train? Does that refresh your memory?
No, I cannot recall that.
Thank you, Mr. Witness. I would like to move to another subject. That's the subject about the food situation. I would like to refer you to your answer in E3/5521, your answer A48. The question of the investigators is, where was rice taken from? And then you answer, I did not know, but knew that there was overseas aid. Can you give us some more details as to this overseas aid? Where did it come from? How much was it? Details like this.
After the liberation of the country in 1975, I knew about the rice aid as the communes were caused to collect them from the district, although I did not know from which overseas countries donated the rice to Cambodian people after the conclusion of the war.
Did you hear maybe afterwards where the overseas aid came from? Maybe from China, or you don't know?
It was likely that the aid came from China, or it could be from another country, because I am not sure.
Do you have any memories as to the amount of this overseas aid coming into your commune? Was it small? Was it big? Are you able to say anything about this overseas aid?
The aid was not enough, although it kept coming in at the time. For each time, we received about 10 sacks of rice for the distribution through the villagers, but I cannot give you the exact figure of the amount of aid we received.
Do you remember how soon or how quick after the liberation you saw the first sacks of overseas aid coming into your commune?
No, I cannot recall the period. I only recall that the economic section went to pick the rice from the district and then brought it in through the commune.
Do you remember how long the overseas aid in the form of rice was coming into your commune? How long did that last? Did it go into 76 or did it go into 77?
The aid continued until 1976, and after that, each commune started to produce the amount of rice yield.
Do you remember whether it was only rice coming in, or was it also other food products that were coming in after the liberation in the form of overseas aid?
President, Mr. Witness, please wait for the microphone to be operational first. Witness. There seems to be nothing else but rice. However, there could be clothing and that we use it for the supplies to our people. And there could be some medicines, but I cannot recall the details or the amount we received. However, for these aids, they did not come in frequently.
Are you able to tell from your memory whether at one point in time after liberation the food situation got better, that there was more rice available for the people? For instance, would you be able to make a comparison in terms of rice production and food supply between 1975 and 1976 in your commune?
On the situation of the living condition in my commune, the food supply was not sufficient, as the rice yield was not that plenty. Other communes at the upper level in the area produce sufficient products. Then a request was made to the district, and then some surplus from other communes was given to us to resolve the living condition of our villagers. At that time, gruel was given to people in the morning, and for the afternoon they had cooked rice. And let me state it, at the time the food was not sufficient.
Was there, in your memory, a point in time in the years between 75 and 79 that the food situation did become sufficient? In other words, are you able, or is it the situation that at one point there was no lack of food anymore?
It was very difficult to say whether people had sufficient food to eat. In fact, it was not that sufficient, but there was more produce, more rice, and more vegetables. And we also raised livestock, including pig and chicken. And then the economic section also sends people to go fishing in order to gather supplementary food for our people. Every 10 days in my commune and in other communes as well, people were given pork or beef. It means they would receive the meat for that whole day. Sometimes a commune would kill a cow for every 10 days, and that also happened in my commune. So we did raise livestock to supplement our food, although it was not plentiful, but we could resolve the food shortage from time to time.
Mr. Witness, is it your recollection that the upper echelon tried or did its best to improve the food situation in your commune?
The upper echelon issued instructions to the lower levels that we had to resolve the food issue so that villagers could have sufficient food to eat. And if a leader at the village or commune chief level couldn't do it, then we would be in trouble. And for that reason, we tried very hard to resolve the problems. And in certain cases, some people in the leadership level would be removed from one position and transferred to others. As in my case, I was transferred from Libo to Srai Nonung and subsequently to Ong Tasaum.
Mr. Witness, in your answer to the investigators at E3/5521, answer 100, the question is, did people die of starvation? And your answer is, no one died of starvation. And my question to you is it your testimony that also in the difficult period, 1975, maybe 1976, no one died of starvation?
Yes, I did I did make that statement. People died of illness. Some medics, rather some people did not experience the living condition in the rural area, and due to a sometimes shortage of food, they fell sick.
I will get back to that topic, Mr. Witness, but just to be clear, is it your testimony that in your recollection, in your commune, nobody died of starvation, including in the years 1975 and 1976?
Yes, indeed. And as for those who died, they mainly died of illness. And on the issue of food shortage, it could be one of the many factors that made those people ill.
Mr. Witness, you would agree with me that also today, in this country and in all the other countries in the world, people die of diseases. So also in 1975 and 76, people would die of diseases. My question to you is the following. How would you be able to establish there was any link between living conditions or food shortages and the subsequent illness of people?
As I stated, people died of diseases. Maybe they died because of overworked, or because of the lack of food, or because of their personal illness.
I understand, Mr. Witness, but you would agree with me that people die because of old age, because of diseases. So my question to you is, were you able, in your position as commune chief, to determine whether there was any causal effect between the living conditions or the working conditions, and the subsequent death of these people.
I did not understand the cause of the death, and I stated what I understood. They could die from the lack of food supply, or could be from overworked or poor sleeping quarters, or because they died of old age.
Well, that was my question, Mr. Wins. I understand that you're not a demographic expert, but again, are you able to give us some information as to the sources of knowledge of people dying in your commune? Did you speak, for instance, to people of the hospitals or other authorities in relation to sickness and death of people?
I did not know for sure.
Thank you, Mr. Witness. I would like to turn to another subject, and that is your question in answer 31 in document E3/5521. The question, Mr. Witness, of the investigators is as follows. In your village, how many people were called and taken to study? And your answer is, I quote, I did not know how many because this was their secret story. And for the people who were called to go to study, they were never seen coming back. What is it that you exactly meant with their secret story? Could you clarify, please?
I, of course, cannot tell you as to the number of people who were called. And they went and never came back. I, in fact, was also called for re-education session, and I was not aware that I was about to be sent for execution, and only after 1979, when I went to visit Kata Chand, I was shocked, and I felt regret for what happened.
Did you just say, Mr. Witness, that you yourself was asked or was sent for re-education during the DK regime?
As I said, when I was promoted to become the commune chief in 1978, I never sent anyone for re-education, but previously people were actually sent for re-education, but I did not do that in my position.
Maybe I misunderstand your answer, but I thought that you said that you had yourself been sent for re-education, but that's, I take it, not true.
Personally, indeed, I was sent for study session and I was given studying materials so that when I returned back to my commune, I would implement what I learned, that is to increase rice production. And that's what I mean by I also was sent for a study session.
So you came back and kept working after your re-education or study session, rather. Do you know of any experience of other people who went for a study session or a re-education session and came back into the commune?
After I attended the study session, and as for other people or other villagers who were sent for the session, they never returned. But in my case, I attended the study sessions, but the purpose of such sessions were for us, in our capacity to resolve the living condition of the people, to increase the yield production of rice, for example. That's what I did. And I also would like to reiterate that in my capacity as the commune chief at the time, I never sent any of the people in my commune for study sessions or re-education.
I would like to ask you something more about they never returned. Are you implying something with these words, they never returned? Or is it simply are you simply saying that you don't know what happened to them?
Indeed, I never saw them return.
But when you say that, do you mean that you know what happened to these people?
I did not know what happened to them.
So in your experience, would it be possible that they had been sent to other communes or other districts in the country?
I cannot say for sure, because when they did that, it was secretive. However, from my observation, when people were sent for a study session, we could not say whether they were sent to be killed or not, because what they did was secretive. Even I was a commune chief. I did not know about that. I only knew that they were sent for study sessions or for study, and they never returned.
So is it fair to say that you are speculating when you say they never return, implying that they might be executed, that it is speculation?
Because I didn't see them come back, and it was my personal experience or impression that they were executed.
And you being the exception to the rule. I would like to return to Krang Ta Chan now. You said that you never saw, that you didn't know of the existence of this re-education center. Is that correct? Not before 1979?
During the regime, I knew where Krantachan was, and I heard that it was called a Krantachan Security Center, but I was not aware that people were executed there. However, after I concluded my study session at Office 123, I was called to attend a ceremony near Krantachan, and when I visited the site, I was shocked.
So your testimony is now that you knew during the DK regime of Re-Education Center 105, but that you knew of possible executions only after 1979. Is that a correct summary of your testimony?
Yes, I knew about it for certainty after 1979, and I felt angry about what they did. In fact, my younger sister was arrested, and one of my sons also disappeared, though I didn't know where he was sent to. And of course, I felt angry about that.
My last question, Mr. President, on this topic. Would it be fair to say that you only knew of Krantachan as a possible execution site after your re-education for a 6-year period by the Vietnamese?
I attended a ceremony at the Krantachan, and that's when I saw it. After I was released from the Refashion Center at office at 163 at Kohan Diet, Deputy Chief of Village invited me to attend a ceremony near Krantachan, and then that was the time that I saw it personally. President, the time is appropriate for our lunch break. We'll take a break now, and we will resume this afternoon at 1:30. And court officer, please arrange the place for the witness during the lunch break, and invite him and his duty counsel back into the courtroom at 1:30. And security personnel, you are instructed to take Mr. Kisampon to the waiting room downstairs and have him back into the courtroom this afternoon before 1:30. The court is now in recess.
សូមអញ្ជើញក្រងឈរ